Go ahead.
But for the Lord,
Your body is on a lease. It's on a lease from the Most High. It's from a lease from the Lord. It don't belong to you. That's why it says the body is not for fornication, meaning the body that you're leasing from the Most High, he don't want you just ramping up all kind of mileage on there. If you're a woman, your body's meant for one man. If you're a man, your body's meant for one woman. It's not meant for fornication. You trying this, trying that. It don't work with her. You're back with her, and then you're back with this one. You're trying with this one. It's not meant for that. It's not meant for the way the world has us thinking about marriage and sex. Your body is not meant for that. That's why we fall ill to the sexual transmitted diseases. All right, your body's not meant to be racking up all kind of bodies and miles. All right, keep reading.
But he that committed fornication sinneth against his own body.
So when you fornicate, you're using your body to fornicate. All right. So that's why it says you sinneth against your own body. That's it goes back to the verse we just read in 13. That body is on a lease. It's not meant for all those for you to be defiling it with different bodies. You're committing adulteries and fornication. That's why single brothers, single sisters, y'all have to be patient in y'all proving process. Or if you're in the stage where you have to get yourself right before you even think about marriage, that's what you have to do. You got to get yourself right. Go through that process. Go through that your burning stage. Remain faithful and not fall into sin. That's what we do when we start committing these sexual sins. We join our body with harlots. We commit fornication. We defile that body that don't belong to us. So what you think is going to come in return for you? It's going to be judgment in return for you. You're not that disciplined. You need a woman. Go ahead.
Let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
Same thing. Go ahead.
Let the husband render unto the wife.
Read the top of verse 2 again. Why?
Verse 2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication.
So to avoid fornication, if you can't contain, you can't resist, it is good for you to go through the process to get married. Not do no backdoor action and jump through the back window and kick in the back door and go through the process of what it takes to get married, even if you are burning. All right.
Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name.
Well, I'm gonna kill you off. And then all these women that want to fall in line, that one man, he gonna take as many as he want to, because a man will be more precious than fine. Not gonna be that many of y'all around here.
Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man.
When that destruction comes a second time, go ahead.
Saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name, to take away our reproach. In that day,
he's mentioning it again. Read on.
Shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely.
So we understand now that the branch of the Lord is not beautiful and glorious. Not at all. A bishop, he desireth a good work. Read on.
A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife.
So what do we have to fall up under right now? The husband of one wife. A bishop, he desireth a good work. Read on.
A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife.
So what do we have to fall up under right now? The husband of one wife, because we are on punishment right now.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you other brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, and shalom to the elect. I just wanted to touch on this video. I really didn't want to do another IUIC video, but it popped up about marriage, and we went over this before, but just the one thing he said, that made me want to do the video. He's putting man and women on an equal level of relationships, which is absolutely false. 1 Corinthians 11 says the woman was created for the man, not the man for the woman. So it just seems like this guy is a Bishop Nathaniel. He's created his own kingdom in some form of control of what goes on in the camp. Now, if there's 300 men and 1,000 women, what's supposed to happen if the 300 women when they start dating the men, you hooked them up? What happens to the other 700, right? What are they supposed to do? And this is the confusion in Babylon, right? The reason why you got so much adultery, because men know that a woman is only going to allow them to be with one, her at a time. They're not going to, on an average, I'm talking about the main woman, she's not going to allow you to have 4 or 5 different wives. She's not going to want that. So you got a lot of jakes who dump the wife and they go somewhere else. And that's what Yahushua was talking about when he said not to divorce a woman except it be for an adultery. And this is a scripture that they read. And we're going to get into some commentary. Matthew 5:28. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her have committed adultery with her already in his heart. And this is a natural thing. This is a natural thing. There's no way as a grown-ass man that you're not going to look at some woman and find her attractive. Let's call it like it is. But what is this talking about? Let's go to Exodus 20, when it talks about lusting after the eye of a woman and everything. This precept is right here. This is why I shared the screen. Exodus 20:17. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You should not covet your neighbor's wife. That's what that's going into, because of the adultery that was going on in the church. And we'll get into something he said. Like when you go to Rehoboam in the book of Chronicles, I believe, he had wives and concubines. This was common, right? But you know what bothers me about this whole scenario that these IUIC puppets push? They literally went into the Isaiah 4:1 and said, because we're in captivity, we can have but one wife. And that's not even in the Bible. When you read Exodus, the 1st or 2nd chapter under Ramses, the Pharaoh, right? We were taken into captivity and we multiplied exceedingly. So that doesn't make any sense. So he's causing confusion. If our bodies was only meant for one woman, why is Isaiah 4:1 saying it's going to be met? We're going to have 7 women going to be take hold of one man. They believe that doctrine. See, they can't refute that. But now, and this after those days coming on this side, this is not going to be just strictly in the kingdom. I have no idea what these guys are talking about. In those days, that's coming. This is what the prophet was saying way before. So we're coming in those days, and it may start very soon. This is why these women are flocking to the group to get a man. What do you think they're there for? The women ain't there on a high scale level to know that they're Hebrew Israelite woman. The women are there to get themselves a man. So anyway, 1 Corinthians 6:18, this is what he pulled. Flee fornication. Fornication doesn't always mean sex, by the way. But see, now the Lord, he has the children of Israel, who is in a multiple abundance of us. We're like women to him, right? So as men, we're going to have women, right? Not as many as he has. You know what I'm saying? We're all his women. I mean, we all his children, okay? But it says, flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. And they use that to bring that up. So we look up this word fornication, and it's real simple. It goes to adultery, illicit sexual intercourse. How would this be? This is talking about a man that lays with another man's wife. This is exactly why I read in Exodus, what we just read in Exodus about when Matthew 5:28, you should not covet your neighbor's house. You should not covet your neighbor's wife. Right? That's what it's saying. It doesn't say that a woman shall not covet her husband or another man. Right? I mean, a woman shall covet a woman. I mean, a man that has a wife. It doesn't say that. Where's the scripture on that? Look, you women, you're not supposed to look upon a man that already has a wife. It's not in there. But it does talk about a man with other women, or the adultery of a woman who had 4 or 5 husbands, as the heathen woman at the well did. Right? I'm hoping I'm saying all this right. You know, a slip of the tongue sometime. Right? But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her committeth adultery with her already in his heart. This is not talking about any woman. Right? When the scripture says stumble not at the beauty of a woman and it's going into that, yeah, on a level it's talking about don't get caught up in her eyes and certain things, but it's going into harlotry as well, right? And these women who already have husbands. That's why you don't see the reverse situation. But we'll get into the other part that he brought out. So fornication, adultery, fornication, homo, leso, intercourse with animals, sexual immoral with close relatives. All he's going is back into the law, right? And they said the law is done away with. Here he is quoting the law, right? Which IUIC knows this. It says the worship of idols, right? Of Christ. That Christ's name on the front of your jersey. You are committing fornication. The Lord ain't tell us to follow no idols like that. Of defilement of idolatry and incurred by eating the sacrifice offered to idols. Which that's where Yahushua came, because all our food is sacrificed to idols. Right? Now, going to the root word of that, porneia, which you get pornos from, prostitutes one body to lust of another. Do you know when it talks about the woman, and I'm not going to go into all that, but when it talked about the woman don't prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a harlot, do you know that didn't necessarily just mean sex? That was what they were doing. They were going into those harlotry temples and they would make sacrifices unto other gods, right? Which is the same thing as fornication. That was before the sexual act took place. Kind of like in Hollywood when these people sign over these contracts, right? And as a parent, you allow your child to go into Hollywood like they did Justin Bieber and various others. You know, you have now prostituted them off. It's the selling of them. Sure, they didn't go through the ritual yet, but they've already been prostituted. And that's what happened to Justin Bieber. And it ain't just P. Diddy, by the way. It's the ones who set him up. They got to come to him like a gatekeeper. Then he passes them on to the elites of their Hollywood, man. Yeah. They always got a man set up to bring them in, right? That's why the scripture says in Jeremiah 5, they catch men, they surpass the deeds of the wicked. To commit fornication, metaphorically to be given to idolatry, worship of idols, to permit oneself to be drawn away to another into idolatry. So I just wanted to bring that out. So we want to go to 1 Corinthians 7, what he brought out, where it says 7 and 2. It says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have their own husband. But wait a minute, doesn't that go against Isaiah 4:1? So what does that mean? Let every man have his own wife. But then he says, let a bishop be blameless, the husband of one wife. So we see how they take this universalism and then they try to make it a full doctrine. So we're going to go into that and see exactly what that's talking about. Okay. Now I'm going to read a little bit of this and I'm going to jump because I obviously I can't read all of this, right? It says the reason which he assigns is true reason in itself, and with reference, okay, to the masses of mankind, for which reason is adopted by the church in her marriage service. He is addressing those who are living in a corrupt and semi-heathen atmosphere. He is not here speaking of the idealized and spiritual aspect of marriage, but only of large practical necessities. When he speaks of marriage as a high Christian mystery, he adopts a very different tone. Let every man have a rule not on merely permission. He here implies the truth that married love bears no analogy whatsoever to the vague libiness of those who are like natural brute beasts in marriage and sensuous impulses. So to give some history, in the Church of Corinth, they had major adultery going on in the church. And I can read all the different commentaries, but I know what it said. In these churches, it was so much adultery going on that the bishop, when it talked about must be blameless, an overseer must be blameless, it was because there was so much adultery going on. When it talks about let a man have his own husband, let a husband have his own wife. The reason why I said his own wife, because they would get married, right? And when they got married, this woman had already had 4 or 5 husbands. And that's exactly why I said it. And then let the wife have her own husband. So he had to pump the brakes of the things that was going on in his church to kind of clear out adultery and fornication. Yeah, it was that bad, just like what happened in the IUIC, right? And that atmosphere, you might have to do that because of what's going on in the church, in his church, right? How can Bishop Nathaniel have 5 wives if he can't be a correct overseer over the rest of those women? Right? So I think he knows the truth, but he's not going to admit it, right? That's the best way he can keep control, because if he allows polygamy in that church and they're in a union in that school, you can imagine the sleeping around that would go on in that school. I'm not sure, maybe it would ease it up because men won't have to be sleeping with other men's wives without knowing. But if you're passing all these women around in the church, you don't know who's who. See, imagine 20 men had 5 wives. We don't know who divorced who. We don't know, and they were swapping them. So we don't know if the 3rd wife was with other men before him and so forth. It was that bad, right? And this is why there was no control. So I'm going to go to the overseer must be blameless. And I'm going to read a little bit of that, right? Real quick. The husband of one wife. This is talking about, now, again, you have different commentaries. That's why you have to get full understanding of the contextual understanding. It says, this need not to be understood as requiring that a bishop should be a married man, as Vigilantius, a presbyter in the church of Barcelona in the 4th century. It says, suppose, however, desirable in general may be that a minister of the gospel should be married. But while this interpretation is manifestly to be excluded as false, there has been much difference of opinion on the question whether the marriage means that the minister should not have more than one wife at a time, or whether it prohibits the marriage of the second wife after the death of the first. That's what I want to go into too, because in some translations, this is what they were saying. when it said he must have the one wife. Like after the wife died, he wasn't supposed to remarry again. So that's why it's so much different understandings on this text, right? On the question, this notes the Bloomfield Dontrich consulted. The former correct opinion seems to be evident to follow considerations. It is most obvious meaning of the language, and it would doubtless be thus understood by those whom was addressed at the time when polygamy was not uncommon. To say that a man should have but one wife would be naturally understood as prohibiting polygamy, right? The marriage of a second wife after the death of the first is nowhere spoken of in the scriptures as wrong. The marriage of the widow to be a second husband, to expressly declare the proper 1 Corinthians 7:39, it is not unfair to infer from the permission that it was equally lawful and proper to marry the second time. That's all I'm gonna get on that. Let me see if there's a little more. Let's get to Cambridge. I'm just jumping for the sake of time. It says, many converts to Christianity would have more than one wife. They are nowhere commanded to put away all but one. But it was not seemly that a man in such position should be a Christian minister who ought to all respects to be an ensampler of the flock, right? The parallel passage caused no difficulty. Like when we go all through the Bible, it was also, polygamy is a made up word, by the way, but this was always going on. And no matter, even if you try to stop it today, it's still going on today. People unwillingly or unknowingly know they're doing it. It's still going on today. That's why you got the jakes that say I got the side chick. You know what I'm saying? But then the feminism with the woman say I got the side husband. And this is what brings the confusion, right? Then as many women would change her partner and with or without so-called remarriage feel no scruple. So as long as she was faithful to the new partner, this is why he said he must be an overseer, the husband of one wife, right? It says the elementary principle of Christian relationship needed to be taught in a Christian Asia and needs teaching now in as many still half heathen circles of Christian England. And you can go on, I read all of this, but you can go on, and it brought up the fact that the woman at the well, when Yahushua said you got 5 husbands, or 4 husbands, 5 husbands, but you never heard the Messiah say, hey, you're sinning, you got 3 wives. You never heard that in there. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. There's no way that this group can sit up there and claim that a man is only supposed to have one wife, but then says in Isaiah 4:1, your body is not meant to be with more than one. First of all, and not trying to get graphic, but when a man sleeps with 5, 6 different women, as long as they're all faithful, that's why it's no diseases. That's how you don't get diseases. But in this society, I don't condone, or let me say, I wouldn't, advise a man to have 5 wives, but I can't say no, he can't do it, right? When a man lays with a woman, he's still himself. When a woman lays with a man, she is no longer herself. She's been the penetratee with who knows what. So it is a difference. Talking about bodies, she got bodies. You know what I'm saying? Only a man can get that, man. But these men are sitting up there pushing a Christian doctrine, man. That's all I have on that.